Hello, friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. I ain't the kind of guy to spook easy. Been driving rigs up and down this country for near 30 years, seen my share of weirdos and wild nights. But what happened that summer on Highway 97 still makes my skin crawl every damn time I think about it. If you're listening to this, maybe you're sitting at home, lights off, just looking for a scare story. Well, buckle in, 'cause this ain't no tale. This is my life, and it started the night I picked up a load of lumber just outside Oregon. It was around 10:30 p.m., and the dispatcher asked me to haul straight through to Nevada. Tight schedule, barely time to breathe. Normally I'd push back, but something in me said, just go, and I've been regretting that instinct ever since. The air felt strange that night, heavier than usual, like it was thick with pressure. The moon was full, hanging low and yellow like a rotten tooth over the pines. I pulled out of the lot, turned onto the main road, and didn't even make it 10 miles before things started going sideways. My CB radio crackled, but it wasn't any voice I recognized. It was whispering, real faint, like breath against glass, and I swear it said my name. Now I've heard ghost stories from other drivers over the years, but I always chalked it up to highway hallucinations or late-night boredom. But this wasn't that. The voice was slow, raspy, and it said, "Don't go past mile marker 212, he's waiting there." I tried to laugh it off, but my palms were already sweaty on the wheel, and when I glanced at the passenger seat I could have sworn I saw movement, just a flicker, like someone was sitting there. I slammed the brakes, heart pounding, lights flickering from the jolt, and when I turned on the cab light, there was nothing. Just me and an empty rig, but it didn't feel empty, not by a long shot. The air smelled different too, like iron, like blood. I shook it off, told myself I was tired and overworked, maybe a little hungry, but I couldn't ignore that voice, not after what came next. About 20 minutes later, I hit mile marker 212, and sure enough, there was something standing on the shoulder. Not a man, not an animal, just a tall figure with no face, like it was wearing a dark hood or its head was all shadow. I slowed, thinking maybe someone needed help, but then it raised its arm, long and twisted, and pointed straight at me. Don't know why, but instead of hitting the gas and getting the hell out of there like any sane person would have done, I froze. Just sat there in the driver's seat, eyes locked with that thing, even though it didn't have eyes. My headlights hit it square on, but no face, no shine, no features, just a black void wrapped in some ragged cloak that fluttered without wind. It didn't move, didn't step forward, just kept pointing, and I swear I could hear it inside my head whispering, "Turn back. He's coming." Now I ain't a man to scare easy. I've had guns pulled on me, wrecked in snowstorms, even run from a damn wildfire once. But I've never felt fear like that. It was like something ancient had its eyes on me, like I was being hunted. I yanked the wheel and roared past that figure without looking back, tires screaming as I pushed the rig faster than I shoulda. The CB crackled again, but this time it was just static, loud and furious like a storm. I turned it off and kept driving, trying to forget what I saw. Only thing is, the road didn't forget me. Somewhere past midnight, I passed the same mile marker again, 212. I damn near choked when I saw it. Thought maybe I was imagining things, but there it was, same busted post, same tilt, same tree with the gouge on the side. No way I looped back. I'd been going straight the whole time, and worse, the figure was back, same spot, same posture, still pointing at me. I hit the brakes again and just sat there, trying to figure out how the hell I could have circled back. GPS was dead. Phone? No signal. I stepped out of the truck, slammed the door, and shouted, "What the hell do you want from me?" But all I got was silence. That silence stretched. The crickets stopped. No wind, no animals, just me and the thing. I looked up, and the stars were gone. Not hidden, gone. Like someone turned off the sky. I don't know how long I stood there before the headlights dimmed and the engine sputtered. My truck died just like that. And that's when it moved, not walked, floated, just slid toward me across the ground, arms still raised, still pointing. I backed up, hands shaking, heart feeling like it was trying to punch out of my chest. I jumped into the cab, turned the key again and again. Nothing. Then it reached the driver's side window. I don't know what it touched me with, but that cold. It wasn't just cold, it was death. It reached through the glass like it wasn't even there and tapped my shoulder. I blacked out right then and there. I came to with the horn blaring, and my face slammed against the steering wheel. Truck was idling like nothing had happened. Engine running, lights on, sky back to normal with stars glittering above me like tiny holes poked in black velvet. I sat up fast, heart hammering, eyes darting around the cab, but that thing was gone. No shadowy figure, no whispering, no trace. Just the hum of the engine and the soft chirp of crickets. But here's the part that really messed with me. I looked at the dashboard clock, and it read 3:13 a.m. Last I remembered, it was 12:42. I'd lost almost 3 hours, just gone like a puff of smoke. I checked my phone again, still no signal, and when I looked outside, I realized something even worse. The road signs were in a different language. Not Spanish, not French, something I didn't even recognize. All twisted letters and jagged lines like a nightmare version of English. The trees looked different too, taller, darker, leaning in closer to the road like they were listening to my thoughts. That's when I knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was still on a highway, yeah, but not our highway. I backed the truck up, turned it around, the best I could, and started heading back the way I came. Only thing is, there was no curve, no turnoff, no sign of civilization anywhere, just mile marker after mile marker, none of them matching the ones from before. Every few minutes the fog rolled in, thick, yellowish, smelled like rot, and sometimes I'd see shapes moving through it, too fast to track but too big to ignore. More than once I thought I saw something crouched low in the trees, watching. Me, waiting. The worst part? The truck didn't feel like mine anymore. The radio kept turning on by itself, but it wasn't playing music or news. It was playing old screams. Not just any screams, my own. Me shouting for help, begging to wake up, over and over like a loop from hell. And once, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. And it wasn't me looking back. The eyes were wrong. Too wide. Too dark. I pulled over, trying not to puke, and just sat there with my head in my hands. That's when I heard knocking on the side of the truck. Not a polite knock. Slow, heavy, deliberate, like someone using bone to tap against metal. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. Then the voice came again, clearer this time. You crossed over, and now you belong to him. I reached for the door lock but froze when I realized every lock in that cab had already clicked open. My stomach dropped. I didn't move a muscle, barely even blinked. I just sat there, listening to the wind that wasn't blowing, the bee, crickets that had gone quiet again, and that low, deep knocking, 3 times. A pause. Then 3 more. It was rhythmical, like it had a pattern, like it was saying something. The kind of knock that ain't just for attention. It's a message. I glanced at the passenger mirror, and what I saw chilled me down to my bones. There was a hand sliding along the side of the trailer, just one pale hand, dragging its fingers slow across the metal. The nails were too long. The skin looked like it had been soaked in water for days, all bloated and wrinkled. I didn't dare open the window. Hell, I didn't even want to breathe. Then the radio burst back to life, not with my screams this time, but with a voice I ain't never heard before. It said, real calm like, "Driver 771, your delivery is late. Proceed to the hollow exit. He's waiting." The voice was deep, not human deep, but like it was coming from inside the earth itself. My eyes darted to the GPS, and damn if there wasn't a new route showing up. Hollow exit, 66 miles. The screen glitched and flashed red for a second, then settled on that route like it had been programmed from the start. Now, I'd never heard of any hollow exit before, and I sure as hell didn't want to head anywhere that he was waiting. But the rig started moving, I ain't lying. Foot wasn't on the pedal, gears weren't touched, but that truck rolled forward on its own. I slammed on the brake. Nothing. Wheel was stiff, like it had locked into position. That rig was driving itself. The CB started crackling again, and I heard other voices this time. Other truckers, maybe, or imitations of them. One said, "He took my eyes." Another whispered, "Don't stop. Don't ever stop." Then the final one, breathless and broken, moaned, "He rides with you now." That last one made my skin crawl. I looked in the side mirror again and saw the passenger door slowly opening. On its own. That's when I caught a scent that nearly knocked me out. Rotten meat, old gas, and copper, like pennies soaked in blood. I reached over and yanked the door shut, locking it twice, but as I turned my head toward the driver's side, there he was. In the seat beside me. No sound, no shift of weight. Just there. Dressed in a driver's uniform, name tag read, "No one." Face was wrong, all stretched and twisted like someone had tried to make a man out of wet leather and forgot the details. His mouth opened too wide, and out came the exact same voice I'd heard over the radio. "Proceed to the hollow exit." And I drove. I don't remember shifting gears or pressing the pedal. I don't remember turning the wheel or even blinking. All I know is that the road ahead just kept stretching out, longer and darker than it ever had any right to be. No towns, no exits, no signs of life. Just endless blacktop under a sky that looked like it was rotten from the inside. The stars were gone again, replaced by moving shapes, big winged things circling above, far too quiet for how damn big their shadows were. That thing sitting next to me, he never moved. Just kept his hands folded in his lap, like he was hitching a ride through hell. His face never blinked, never twitched. But every now and then his mouth would twitch open just enough for me to hear breathing. Slow, ragged, wet breathing. The kind that makes your gut turn inside out. I tried to talk to him once. Just once. I said, "Where are we going?" My voice came out like a stranger's, all dry and hollow. He didn't answer. He just slowly turned his head toward me, and I saw under the stretched skin of his face something moving. Like worms under plastic. He grinned, if you could call it that, and said, "We're going home." Now I don't know what the hell he meant by that, but something about the way he said it made me feel like I'd already been there before, like I'd been trying to forget it my whole life. I looked back at the road, and suddenly there were signs again. Tall, rusted ones, barely readable in the low beam light. The first said, "Turn back." The second, "Too late." The third, "The hollow welcomes you." I tried to turn the wheel, but it fought me. Locked in place like I was driving down tracks instead of asphalt. Then I realized the lines on the road had changed. They weren't yellow or white anymore. They were red. And they weren't paint. They looked like blood. Fresh. Still glistening. Still warm. That's when I heard something thumping in the back of the trailer. I hadn't picked up any cargo besides the lumber, and that was strapped down tight. But this was heavy, moving, pacing. Whatever it was back there, it didn't want to stay put. And then it growled. I ain't talking about no coyote or bear. This was deep, guttural, like an engine with teeth. I looked in my mirror, and I swear on every mile I ever drove, I saw claws pressing up against the inside of the trailer wall, like something was trying to tear its way out. The thing next to me finally spoke again. "He's almost ready to wake up." I asked, "Who?" Even though I didn't want the answer. He just pointed to the road ahead, where the hollow exit loomed like a mouth open wide. And he smiled. That smile. It wasn't just on his face. It was on the sky, the road, the trees. Everything looked like it was smiling now, like the whole world was stretching its lips wide to welcome me into something I wasn't meant to see. The hollow exit sign came into view, huge, old, hanging crooked over the road like it had been there before pavement even existed. It wasn't metal or wood. It looked like bone, carved, with marks that moved when I looked at them too long. The road dipped after the sign, going down into a valley I swear wasn't there on any map. Not even the land looked real. Trees, twisted like they were screaming, fog hanging low like breath from 1,000 mouths, and something humming beneath the tires like the whole ground had a heartbeat. And the cargo? It was pounding now, violently, slamming against the trailer walls like it knew we were getting close. The wheel started to fight me, jerking, twitching like the truck itself was scared. I could feel it in the frame, in the seat, in the hum of the engine. It didn't want to go down that exit, but I couldn't stop it. The man, or whatever he was, he leaned close, his mouth way too close to my ear, and he whispered, "You should have listened to the first voice. But it's too late now. You're the next driver." My hands locked to the wheel. Not metaphorically, literally. I looked down and saw my fingers melting into the damn steering wheel, like rubber fusing to skin. I screamed, tried to pull back, but the pain wasn't normal. It was like every nerve in my body was being dragged into the machine. And my eyes, they started seeing things that weren't there before. Shadows walking alongside the road, dozens of them, hundreds. Some crawled, some floated, some had no legs at all. Just arms, reaching, begging, one of them pressed. Up against my window, its face that of a woman with hollow eyes and a stitched mouth. She mouthed the word "run," but I couldn't. The truck descended into the hollow, and the road behind me? It vanished. Gone. Nothing but black. The mirrors showed nothing but endless fog. No way out now. And that growling from the trailer, it stopped. Replaced by breathing, real slow, real heavy, like whatever was back there had stood up. Then the trailer shifted, the weight moved, and the roof started to bulge from the inside. The thing was coming out. The man beside me leaned back, folded his hands again, and smiled at me one last time. "Welcome to the shift," he said, and then he vanished. Not blinked out, he unraveled, like threads of cloth tearing in the wind. I was alone, but I wasn't. The roof of the trailer groaned like a wounded animal, metal bent outward, creaking. Slow, almost like it was trying not to wake the thing inside, but it was awake already. I could feel it, not just in the sound or the tremble of the rig, but in my bones. My spine felt like it was humming, like it had become part of the damn vehicle. I didn't dare stop driving. I didn't even blink. The road ahead, if you could call it that, turned into something like a rib cage. That's the only way I can describe it. Huge arches of bone or maybe stone, growing up and over the asphalt, dripping with moss or maybe flesh. I couldn't tell. It smelled like hospitals and graves. Every now and then I'd see signs, but they weren't in any language I knew. Just symbols that shifted when you looked at them, moving like they were breathing. Then I felt it. The first claw, tearing through the top of the trailer with a screech like metal screaming. The whole truck rocked as whatever it was climbed up onto the roof, the weight crushing it down. I looked in the side mirror, and all I saw was legs. Long, thin, jointed in the wrong places, like spider legs made of wire and bone. They bent in slow, calculated movements, like it was crawling along the truck just to mess with me. Then came the face, low and leaning down from the roof, peeking in through the windshield like a kid peeking into an ant farm. No eyes, just deep sockets that pulled light into him like a vacuum. A mouth stretched wide across where its neck should have been. It grinned, and I saw row after row of yellow teeth, each one chattering like keys on a typewriter. I screamed. Not out of fear, but out of something worse. Recognition. I'd seen it before. Years ago, outside Baton Rouge. A hitchhiker I didn't pick up. Same shape, same feel. That thing had been following me all this time, and now it had me. It slammed a claw down on the hood, and the whole truck shuddered. My headlights flickered. Dashboard lights went red. The radio screamed. The wheel turned on its own, and I realized I wasn't in control of this rig anymore. I wasn't the driver. I was cargo. A voice, his voice, came back over the speakers. Deliver yourself. I looked down at my hands. They weren't hands anymore. They were blackened, veined with some kind of pulsing tar, the flesh looking more like rubber tubing than skin. My reflection in the windshield looked hollow, stretched, like I was already halfway into whatever thing they were trying to make me. And still, I drove, because there was no other choice. The hollow had me. The rig had become part of me. Or maybe I'd become part of it. I ain't sure anymore. I kept driving deeper, past where time made sense, past where space felt real. The truck didn't run on diesel no more. It ran on something colder, darker, like grief in liquid form. The engine didn't rumble, it whispered. Whispers that crawled up through the pedals, through the wheel, into my arms, into my chest, until I couldn't tell which thoughts were mine and which belonged to the road. I looked out the window and realized the stars had come back, but they weren't above me. They were below, like I was driving upside down through a sky that had been buried underground. The trees were gone now, replaced by pillars of bone, miles high, holding up a sky that bled like paper cuts. And that thing on the roof, it was still there. Sometimes it'd shift, like it was readjusting its weight. Other times, it had let out a low rumbling growl that made the radio static pulse in time with it. And every once in a while it'd drop down a limb, long and too thin, with claws like fish hooks, scraping it along the side of the cab just to remind me it hadn't gone anywhere. But what really got me was when it started talking. Not through its mouth, through the truck. The engine would stutter, and then I'd hear words in the rhythm of the vibrations. You're not the first. The road never ends. He's almost done dreaming. And each time it spoke, the sky cracked like glass, and I'd see glimpses of other trucks, other rigs, floating sideways in the air like they'd crashed through time itself. Some were on fire, others frozen in place, all of them stuck in this twisted web of the hollow. I passed one on the side of the road, same make as mine, same number, except it was rusted, melted, windows shattered, and sitting in the driver's seat was me, but older, hollow-eyed, mouth hanging open like he'd been screaming for decades. As I passed, that version of me turned his head, slow and stiff, and smiled. That's when I realized the truth. The hollow didn't just trap you, it made copies. Ghosts of the choices you didn't make. Echoes of all your worst roads. And it fed them to him. To whatever god, beast, or nightmare ruled this place from the heart of the Black Highway. I should have pulled over years ago. Should have ignored that delivery. Should have turned back the minute I lost time. But I didn't. And now I was part of the route. My job? To keep driving. To keep carrying him. Because if the truck stops, he wakes up. And if he wakes up, the real world ends. So I kept driving. Not because I wanted to, but because the truck wanted me to. Because the thing inside, he, wasn't done with me yet. The road ahead began to twist unnaturally, bending in ways asphalt ain't supposed to bend. It climbed upward, coiled like a serpent made of gravel and tar, looping through impossible angles. Sometimes I was driving sideways, other times upside down. Gravity stopped making sense. My seatbelt dug into my chest, holding me in place while the rig clung to the road like a spider on silk. And all the while the cargo behind me kept moving. No more pounding, just shuffling, like it was pacing, like it was waiting for the right time. The radio came alive again, but this time it didn't play static. It played voices, my voice, from other nights, other halls, talking about running late, bad weather, weird road stops. It played back my life like it was on loop, reminding me of every mile I'd ever driven. And in between those recordings, I heard other voices, ones that sounded like they were trying to imitate me. Laughing, whispering, saying things I never said. I never made it to Chicago. They buried me under the asphalt. You'll wear my skin next. My hands were no longer mine. The veins ran black, my knuckles bent wrong, but still, I gripped that wheel. Then I saw it, up ahead, where the road finally seemed to level out. A structure, massive, made of twisted metal, shattered mirrors, and bones. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them, all welded into a tower that pulsed like a heartbeat. At the top sat a throne carved from engine blocks and truck parts, and sitting on that throne was him. Couldn't see his full shape, but I could feel it. Just the shadow of him was enough to make the mirrors in my cab crack. The world warped around him, like he was too big for it. He didn't move, just watched, waiting. The road led straight into the tower, a tunnel formed from the ribs of dead trucks, all still humming faintly like they were still alive. As I passed under that ribcage, the air got thick, heavy, like I was driving through oil. My lungs started burning, my ears rang. The whispering voices were now screaming, begging, pleading. Some laughed, some cried. One voice, I swear to God, sounded like my mama. She said, "Turn back, baby. Don't go where the dead things walk." But I couldn't. My foot wasn't mine. My eyes weren't mine. The truck had become a coffin, and I was the living body inside it, delivering myself straight into Hell's Depot. The cargo door opened on its own. No hands touched it. Just lifted, slow and creaking. I heard chains fall. And then he started. Getting out, I didn't even have to look. I felt it. Felt him unfolding out of that trailer like smoke spilling from a crack in the earth. The air dropped cold in seconds, then burned hot like fire was licking at my skin. My rear-view mirrors turned pitch black, reflecting nothing, not even the road. The dashboard lights flickered and died. The engine whined low, then let out this wheezing breath, like it had been alive this whole time, and finally gave up. That's when I heard his feet hit the ground. Each step sounded like 100 bones cracking. The rig groaned under the shifting weight behind it, but I didn't dare look back. Not yet. My hands, what was left of them, locked harder. Onto the wheel, melted to it now, veins twisted through the rubber like roots to a tree. My knuckles bulged like they were full of black oil. Then the voice came, not from the radio this time, not from the truck. It came from everywhere. From the fog, from the cracks in the road, from the dead trucks lying off the shoulder. It was deep, layered, like 100 voices speaking in unison, all of them rotten and angry. "You were supposed to forget," it said, "but you remembered the road." I finally glanced in the mirror again. That was my mistake. I saw him, or part of him. A long, serpentine form, taller than the trailer, faceless but not formless. He looked like a man stitched together from shadows and wire, with arms that dragged across the asphalt and hands that gripped the broken lines of the highway like reins. Every part of him moved independently, like he wasn't one creature, but 1,000 trapped inside one. Where his heart should have been, there was a wheel, an old truck steering wheel, spinning slow, slick with blood. I felt him lean toward the cab. Not his face. He didn't have one, but the pressure of his presence. It bent the frame of the truck. The windows bowed inward. I smelled rust and sulfur. He whispered through the vents, "Drive me home." And suddenly the truck moved. I wasn't pushing the pedal. The engine was dead. But the rig surged forward, screeching as if something enormous was pushing it from behind. The road ahead split wide, opening into a canyon full of ruined rigs and shattered highways that spiraled downward like a drain. He climbed onto the cab. I heard claws scrape metal. The weight crushed the roof. My windshield cracked in a spiderweb pattern. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My mouth had sewn itself shut. I could taste thread. My body was no longer mine. I was a vessel. And the hollow was taking me home. I looked ahead and saw the end of the highway, if you could call it that. A massive pit where the stars collapsed inward, where trucks spiraled like dying planets. This was the heart of it, the end of all roads. And I was about to deliver the thing that wakes up when men forget why they fear the dark. As the rig barreled toward that pit, the wheels screaming against the pavement, I realized the truck wasn't moving on diesel, gravity, or rubber. It was riding on memory. My memory. Every moment I'd ever spent behind the wheel was being burned like fuel, flashing through my mind faster than I could understand. My first night hauling freight, that time I saw a woman in white walking backwards through the fog near Cheyenne, the diner waitress who warned me to avoid exit 49. The midnight crash I survived, but the other guy didn't. They all rushed through me, pain and warmth and guilt, like the road was taking everything I'd ever been and turning it into speed. He was on the roof still, crouched low, his limbs stretching out in every direction like a spider waiting for a web to snap. Every time I blinked, he looked closer. Every time I opened my eyes, I saw less of the world and more of him. The canyon ahead pulsed like a heartbeat, blood-red light, pouring from deep within, and the road just dropped into it without guardrails or signs. My radio clicked one more time. Just one voice now, mine. "You made the run," it said. "You're part of the freight now." The dashboard peeled like skin, revealing gears and eyes and mouths where knobs used to be. One of them smiled. At me. Another one bit me. I didn't even flinch. My veins were full of motor oil now. My thoughts didn't belong to me. And yet, part of me still fought. Somewhere deep in the engine of my soul, I remembered a rule old truckers used to whisper at bars. Don't finish the ride. If the cargo ever gets quiet, if the road ever starts singing, you jump. Looked at the door. My fingers, barely flesh anymore, found the handle. It felt hot, alive. It pulsed under my grip. The canyon was seconds away. The truck groaned one last time, as if warning me. He moved above me. I could feel it in my chest. He knew what I was about to do. He screamed. The sound didn't come through ears. It hit me in my bones, like a freight train of regret. But I yanked that handle anyway. The door blew open. Wind screamed through. I didn't jump. I fell, right into the void, right off the rig, watching it speed ahead into the pit. I saw the whole truck twist in midair, like it was being sucked into a spiral that didn't exist in our world. And then it was gone, swallowed whole. No crash, no explosion, just silence. I hit something, but not ground, not right away. It was like falling through fog that held me. Whispers brushed my ears, fingers maybe, or thoughts. When I finally landed, it was on asphalt, familiar, warm. I opened my eyes to the sound of an engine, a truck idling, my truck, parked at a rest stop, daylight, normal sky, no blood, no canyon. But the cargo door was open, and it was empty. Sat there for what felt like hours, maybe more, slumped on the curb of that rest stop with the hot sun beating down on me, trying to convince myself it was over, that I'd dreamt it, that maybe I'd fallen asleep behind the wheel somewhere, back in New Mexico or Arizona, and all of it was just some long, twisted nightmare. But when I looked down at my arms, I saw the truth. My veins were still dark, not like bruises, like oil. My skin was stained, like tar had sunk into it and made a home. And my hands, they were twitching, jerking, like they still remembered. The feel of that cursed steering wheel, like they missed it. That's when I realized I hadn't escaped. Not really. I'd been let go. Or worse, returned. I stood up and stumbled to the back of the truck. The trailer door was wide open, hanging loose like it had been torn from the inside. The inside was clean, spotless. Not a single box or crate or even a scratch, just bare metal walls and a strange smell, burnt rubber and flowers, like a funeral on fire. I looked around the rest stop. Everything seemed normal. A couple cars, a man walking his dog, an old lady stepping out of a minivan with a soda and a map, but none of them. looked at me, not even once, like I wasn't there, like I was just a shadow passing through. I checked my phone. No signal, no date, just a frozen screen flashing 0000. I started the engine out of habit. It roared back to life instantly, too smooth, like it had never been through hell, like it wanted to drive again. I turned on the radio, static, then a click, then a voice, mine, saying words I hadn't spoken yet. If you're hearing this, you've already picked up the cargo. Don't stop, don't sleep, don't think. I shut it off. Cold sweat poured down my back. I thought about leaving. The truck. Just walking away, leaving it parked right there forever. But I knew it wouldn't let me. I knew the second I took one step too far, I'd hear that engine purr, and the rig would come for me, on its own wheels or on something else. So I climbed back in. I didn't want to, but my body did. Like it was following orders I couldn't remember giving. The GPS turned on by itself. A new route. No destination listed. Just a road that blinked on the screen, extending forever. I laughed or cried. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. Then I shifted into drive, and I pulled back onto the highway, because that's what I do. I drive, and now I think I am the cargo. Or maybe I'm the delivery man of nightmares, picking up what's left of this world one haunted mile at a time. So if you're listening, if you're hearing this story and thinking it's just a tall tale, remember this. The next time you're on the road at night and you hear a rig coming up behind you with no headlights and a growl like it's breathing, don't look in the mirror, don't slow down, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Because once you hear my horn, you're already part of the route. And he's ready for another delivery. I thought it was over. I truly did. After that final haul, after facing him, after losing myself somewhere between time and damnation, I figured the worst was behind me. But turns out, that highway ain't got a rear-view mirror. It don't care what's behind. It just stretches forward. And once you've driven the hollow, once you've hauled freight through a place that don't exist on any map, it marks you. I started seeing signs, literal ones. They weren't there for anyone else, just me. Rusted green highway signs with no names, just strange symbols and arrows pointing down roads that shouldn't exist. One night I stopped at a diner in Oklahoma. Old place, lights flickering, jukebox humming low. Thought maybe I could rest, get a decent meal. I sat at the counter, ordered black coffee. The waitress walked up, but before she said a word, she froze, looked me dead in the eye and whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." I said, "What?" She just backed away, shaking her head. "You brought it with you." Everyone in the diner went silent. Even the jukebox shut off. I turned to look around, and every face had vanished. One blink, and they were gone. Empty. Booths, coffee cups still steaming, bacon frying on the grill with no one flipping it. I ran out to the parking lot. My rig was gone. In its place was another one. Identical in every way. Same scratches, same dent on the door, but older, rusted, and bleeding. Yeah, the truck was bleeding. Thick black blood oozing from the tailpipe, running like it had just been wounded in some cosmic war. The cargo door opened slow, and inside, stacked wall to wall, were mirrors, hundreds of them. But each one didn't show me. They showed versions of me, some younger, some older, some dead. And every damn one of them was staring back with the same hollow eyes. I heard a whisper behind me. I turned, but no one was there. Then one of the mirrors, my mirror, started speaking. "You took the wrong exit." The trailer started vibrating. The blood pooled around my boots. The mirrors shattered all. At once. Sounded like 1,000 screams compressed into a second. And through the shards crawled something new. A creature made of chrome and chains, eyes like broken headlights, voice like an engine trying to die. It said, "Route 66 ends with you." Then it charged. I should have run, should have screamed, but instead, I stepped forward. because I realized something in that moment. I was never just a driver. I was the destination. And the road wasn't taking me anywhere. It was coming out of me. I don't know how long I was gone that time, if I was gone at all. 1 minute. I was staring down that chrome and chains nightmare bursting out of broken mirrors. The next I was back behind the wheel, hands on the leather I swore I'd never touch again, driving under a sky that didn't look like it belonged to Earth anymore. The stars above me were moving, not twinkling, moving, like they were crawling across the sky, slithering into patterns, blinking out in rhythms like Morse code from something ancient trying to speak. The road wasn't asphalt now, it was bones, crushed bone, packed together like gravel. Every mile marker was a rusted cross, and the trees along the highway leaned toward me, branches scratching the air like they were reaching out, begging for a ride. I didn't ask how I got there. I knew better by then. The real question wasn't where I was, it was what I'd become. My reflection in the cracked side mirror didn't look like me anymore. My eyes were headlights. My skin looked like leather, left in the sun too long. And there were tire tracks burned into my chest, like some ghost rig had run me over and left a mark to claim me. That's when the CB radio crackled to life again. "Breaker, breaker 19, a voice said. But it wasn't human. It was dry, like gravel in a throat that hadn't breathed air in years. "You haulin' the soul freight, son?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. My mouth was locked, my jaw wired shut by something unseen. But I could hear them. Not just the one voice. All of them. Dozens of them riding the airwaves. Other truckers. Ones who disappeared off the face of the earth. The lost. The damned. The ones who went missing in the fog outside Amarillo. The ones who drove into snowstorms that never ended. The ones who heard a baby crying on the shoulder and pulled over just long enough to vanish. "Once you're marked," one of them said, "you never leave the route." Another chimed in, whispering, "You're not delivering cargo anymore, brother. You're delivering us." That's when I looked down at the GPS, even though I knew I shouldn't. The screen wasn't showing roads anymore. It was showing names. Names I knew. My cousin Dale. A waitress I talked to in Nebraska. A state trooper who warned me about a wrong turn in Louisiana. Their names blinked red, then grayed out, one by one. "You've been driving so long," the voice said. "You forgot what you were hauling." But they didn't. I slammed the brakes. The rig didn't stop. It just laughed. Not the truck, but everything. The engine, the tires, even the air vents. And in the back, the trailer door swung open on its own. I had to look. I didn't want to, but I had to. Inside, sitting on crates shaped like coffins, were people. Their eyes were wide open, staring. Some crying, some smiling, all whispering, and one of them was me. I backed away from the mirror of myself sitting in that trailer, knees buckling, heart pounding like a jackhammer in my throat. That version of me. He looked just like I remembered before all this started. Clean face, clear eyes, no oil in the veins. He didn't move. Just sat there, looking calm. Too calm. He whispered, "I've been waiting for you to catch up." The rest of the figures in that trailer began to hum, low and deep, like an idling engine echoing in a canyon. Their mouths didn't move, but the sound grew louder, pressing against my ears, rattling my teeth. I slammed the trailer door shut and locked it. Or at least tried to. The latch wouldn't stay. It twisted like it was alive. Then the GPS let out a ding. Another name flashed on the screen. This one I didn't recognize. Marla Jennings, 302 miles. I stared at it, trying to make sense of it. The name meant nothing to me, but the second it appeared, my hands gripped the wheel tight. Knuckles going bone white, and my foot pressed the pedal down on its own. I wasn't in control anymore. I was just the shell, and the truck was the soul. It knew where it was going. It wanted to deliver. The rig shot forward, eating miles like candy. Trees warping past the windows, signs twisting into runes. I couldn't read. And somewhere deep in the cab, the CB crackled again. "You're part of the delivery now," the voice croaked. "You ain't hauling freight, you're hauling fate." I passed towns that didn't exist on maps, saw people on the side of the road with no eyes, just blank faces turning toward me as I roared past. I saw a school bus floating 5 feet off the ground full of kids smiling without mouths. And every mile I drove, the road behind me crumbled into nothing, gone, like it had never been there at all. I realized something awful right. Then, I wasn't just driving through the hollow anymore. I was the hollow. This rig, this ride, it was becoming me. Or maybe I'd always been it. I just didn't know. I reached the drop point around midnight. A tiny house sitting alone at the edge of a black forest, moonlight cutting through the clouds like a blade. I got out, legs shaking, feet numb. I knocked on the door. A woman answered, mid-40s, tired eyes. She didn't look surprised to see me. She looked relieved. "You brought him, didn't you?" she asked. I didn't know what to say. She brushed past me and opened the trailer. I shouted, "No, don't!" But it was too late. Inside, sitting where my reflection once was a boy, maybe 9, pale, sleeping. She gasped, covered her mouth. "Oh God, that's my son." I watched her carry him out, arms trembling. He opened his eyes for just a second. They weren't human. They glowed faint red, and he smiled like he knew exactly where he'd been. She never saw it, just held him close, crying. I turned back to the truck. My trailer was empty again. The name on the GPS vanished, and a new one appeared, mine. Joseph Michael, 0 miles. The radio whispered, "Final stop." I froze, my own name blinking on that screen like a death sentence. 0 miles. That meant I was already there. Already at the end of the route. But where the hell was I? I turned slowly toward the rig, heart beating like thunder in my chest, my name still flashing over and over. The trailer door creaked open again. This time, it wasn't me that opened it. It opened on its own. And inside, there wasn't a mirror version of me, or a strange passenger, or crates, or fog, or even darkness. No. Inside was a room. A small one. Like a sleeper cab stretched out into something bigger than it should be. The walls were lined with photos. Every one of them was of me. Different ages, different places, all caught in motion, walking out of truck stops, filling gas, eating at diners, driving the rig. I hadn't taken a single one of them. But they were real. They were mine. And in the center of that room, on a chair bolted to the floor, was a logbook. I walked in, feet heavy like I was wading through molasses. The air was thick, hot, hummed like it had electricity running through it. I picked up the book, the key. First page was blank. The second had a name. Mine. The third listed every trip I'd ever taken. Even the ones I'd forgotten. Especially the ones I'd forgotten. The further I flipped, the more things blurred together. Dates from the past mixed with ones that hadn't happened yet. Places that don't exist. Route begins, it said.
With birth, route ends, when he takes the wheel. I dropped the book. It snapped shut like a coffin lid. That's when I saw it, carved into the metal wall near the floor. Deep, jagged lines, like fingernails or knives had scratched it.
Out over time. It read, "You can't undeliver yourself." I stumbled back, trying to get out, trying to shut that door, but the trailer wouldn't let me. It breathed in, like the whole rig had lungs. And then it spoke, not through the radio, not through the mirrors, but through every surface of the truck, all at once. "You are the highway now," I screamed. I grabbed the door frame, but my fingers sunk in like the metal was flesh. The walls began to pull. I could feel my body stretching, twisting, warping into the rig. Not outside it. Into it. My skin turned cold, hard. My bones felt hollow like pipes. My eyes stopped blinking. My mouth disappeared. But I heard. I heard every voice of every soul I'd delivered, whispers echoing in the engine, screams twisting, in the gears, pleas for help tangled in the brake lines. I became the truck. Or maybe the truck became me. I don't know anymore. But I'm still driving, still on the road, still picking up cargo. So if you ever hear a horn behind you low and long and a rig with no driver comes up fast in your rearview mirror, don't stop. Don't pull over. Don't even look. Just drive. And pray. Because if you do stop, I might be there, waiting. Trailer open, logbook in hand, and your name's probably next. I don't know how long I've been on this road now. Days, years, decades. Time don't work right out here. It's like the clock gave up trying to measure what I've become. The engine don't need gas anymore, and the tires never wear. I roll across a highway that stretches through places even God forgot. Deserts where shadows scream, mountains shaped like twisted spines, towns that flicker in and out like radio static. And all the while, the trailer hums behind me. Not empty. Never empty. Each time I stop, someone climbs in. Sometimes they don't know why. Sometimes they're drawn to me, like a moth to a flame that remembers its own death. I don't speak to them anymore. Ain't nothing I could say that would help. I'm just the rig now. The road. The route. But I remember who I was. I remember sitting in a diner, laughing with other drivers. I remember the wind through the cracked window and the rhythm of the tires on the asphalt. I remember my name, Fasi Rasoul. I hold on to it like a tooth about to fall out. Because if I forget, I disappear for good. Now here's the part I don't like telling. But I gotta, 'cause if you made it this far, you deserve to know. I see you. Not in the creepy way. I mean it. I see you. Whoever you are, wherever you're listening from. If this story's reaching your ears, then the hollow's already mapped your route. Maybe you're on a late-night drive. Maybe you're staring at your ceiling, trying to fall asleep. Doesn't matter. You've been marked now. That rig you'll hear someday in the distance, the one with no driver and a trailer that seems to breathe, that's me. And I'm not coming to hurt you. I'm coming to deliver you. Because the hollow don't steal. It collects. Every ghost, every lost soul, every scream caught in a CB channel. That's just another delivery made. And now, I'm almost at the final stop. The radio's gone quiet. The GPS screen's cracked, but I can still see one last name flickering through the static. It says, "Return to sender." No miles, no time, just that. I think that means my route's done, my logbook's full, the truck's tired. And me? I'm ready. Ready to park this beast and let the road swallow me whole. So if you ever find yourself at some empty rest stop just before dawn, and you see an old black and chrome rig idling in the corner lot, fog around its wheels and the door just barely cracked open, don't come knocking, don't get curious. Let it be. That's just me, taking my final breath, waiting for the road to close behind me. And if you do hear your name come through the CB late one night, don't answer, just drive. Drive until the sun comes up, and pray it never does, because the highway remembers, and it always delivers.